Well, the ongoing tariff-fueled trade war has prompted China to return brand new Boeing 737 MAX jets, a move that shows the escalating economic tensions between China and the US. The Boeing jet, which was reportedly intended for Xiamen Airlines in China, landed back at the company's manufacturing hub in Seattle on Sunday. And then on Monday, a second jet reportedly returned from China. The Boeing jet has become a casualty in this tit-for-tat tariff war started by the US President Donald Trump. The 737 MAX in question was painted in the livery of Xiamen Airlines and was one of several 737 MAX jets, which are Boeing's best-selling model that had been waiting at Boeing's Sushan Completion Center for final preparations and also delivery to China. Remember, earlier this month, Trump raised baseline tariffs on Chinese imports to 145%. In response, China imposed a 120% tariff on US goods. Now, for a Chinese airline taking delivery of a Boeing jet, the tariffs could majorly impact costs, especially when it is the new 737 MAX and has a market value of around $55 million. This is according to IBA, which is an aviation consultancy. Reports indicate that Beijing is exploring ways to support airlines that lease Boeing jets, and they are now facing heightened expenses. Just last week, it was reported that the Chinese government had asked local airlines to pause their purchases of aircraft-related equipment and parts from American companies like Boeing. What's interesting is that China represents about 20% of the anticipated global demand for aircraft. Over the next 2 decades, as of the end of March, Boeing's order book reportedly included planes scheduled for delivery to Chinese companies, both commercial airlines and leasing firms. Now, it is unclear which party decided for the aircraft to return to the US. And neither Boeing nor Xiamen Airlines have commented on it yet. Just hours before Trump announced his so-called Liberation Day tariffs, Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg had testified before US Senate hearing that the company sold about 80% of its planes globally and aimed to avoid a scenario in which certain markets become closed to us. At that time, Ortberg also mentioned that there was approximately $500 billion in backlog orders. And now, here's what reports are suggesting. The confusion surrounding the changing tariffs could leave many aircraft deliveries in limbo. Some airline CEOs have reportedly indicated that they would prefer to defer receiving planes rather than incur the increased duties. Well, amid the trade tensions between the US and China, Beijing on Monday issued a warning to other countries against limiting trade with China in order to gain relief from American tariffs. Well, the Chinese government has vowed to retaliate against those who side with the US. Responding to foreign media reports suggesting that Trump's administration was pressuring other countries to restrict their trade with China as a negotiating tactic. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce said, and I quote, "Appeasement will not bring peace and compromise will not earn respect. Seeking so-called exemptions by harming the interests of others for one's own selfish and short-sighted gains is like negotiating with a tiger for its skin in the end. It will only lead to a lose-lose situation." While the Trump administration has not officially confirmed any such plans, Trump has indicated that he is open to the idea. What's interesting is that before the latest tariff escalation, the US was the largest single country market for Chinese goods. Our next story is from Yemen. A deadly US airstrike hit a residential area in Sana'a, Yemen, killing 12 people. and injuring over 30 others. This is just the latest in the US's intensified campaign of strikes against Houthis. The Houthis said that the US strike targeted the Farwa neighborhood market, and that's in Sana's Shub district. Footage aired by the Al Masira news channel showed damaged cars and buildings in the latest US strike against the Houthis. It also showed people screaming and holding what appeared to be a dead child. Others can be heard wailing on stretchers heading into a hospital. Strikes also targeted other areas of the country, including Yemen's Amran, Hodeidah, Marib and Sada areas.
By God, the missile arrived suddenly, and the boy was sent to buy something from the bakery. We only heard the explosion. I went searching for my son, and my brother had taken the rest of the family out of the house and moved them to another place. This morning, he brought them back home.
US President Donald Trump ordered the intensification of strikes just last month, in the biggest US military operation in West Asia since he took office in January this year. Washington has vowed to keep attacking the Iran-aligned group until they stop attacking commercial shipping in the Red Sea. The strikes come a week after US airstrikes hit the Ras Isa fuel port in Yemen. And that strike by the United States of America killed 74 people and injured 171. The American strikes also come amid resumption of talks that are happening in Rome between the US and Iran, and that's over Tehran's nuclear program. Washington has linked this to its strikes in Yemen. Earlier on Sunday, a mass funeral was held in Yemen's Hodeidah province for the victims of US airstrikes. This was on Saturday night, after the US carried out 13 airstrikes on Hodeidah seaport and airport. Several public facilities were reportedly destroyed in that attack. Following the attacks, hundreds of residents in the coastal city of Hodeidah took to the streets on Sunday, calling for an end to US strikes targeting civilians in Yemen, as well as civilian infrastructure.
Our protest today, whether in Hodeidah or other provinces, is to condemn the US aggression. It's a protest against the targeting of civilian objects and facilities that belong to the Yemeni people, not to any specific group, sect or party.
Yemenis at the funeral also called for an international investigation, a global probe, and for those responsible to be held accountable. As mentioned earlier, the US is targeting the Houthis because of the group's attacks on shipping in the Red Sea, which is a crucial global trade route. And according to reports, the Houthis are the last armed group in Iran's self-described axis of resistance that is capable of regularly attacking Israel. And the new US operation against the Houthis under Trump has been described as more extensive than the attacks under former US President Joe Biden. The American campaign against Houthis started when the group threatened to begin targeting Israel-linked ships again. And that's after Israel blocked aid from entering the Gaza Strip. And according to news agency AP, from November 2023 until this January, the Houthis have targeted more than 100 merchant vessels with missiles and drones. They have also been able to sink 2 of them, killing 4 sailors that they say are acting in support with Palestinians in Gaza. As a result of tensions in the Red Sea, the flow of trade through the strategic corridor, which typically sees around $1 trillion of goods move through it, has been greatly reduced. Well, the United States of America and Philippines are strengthening their combat readiness. Both militaries have launched their most aggressive joint war drills, preparing for the possibility of direct conflict with China, especially around flashpoints like Taiwan and the disputed South China Sea. The annual Balikatan military exercise has entered uncharted regions this year. They now include full-scale battle simulations designed to test whether American and Filipino forces can operate side by side in an actual war zone, with the main aim of defending critical islands and maritime choke points from a potential Chinese assault. Well, more than 17,000 troops from both the countries are now participating in these war games. Troops will fire live rounds, intercept simulated missile threats, and also conduct island defense operations in areas that are strategically important to both the countries and fiercely contested by Beijing. Well, Washington's access to the Philippines is expanding now. Manila has now opened 4 additional military bases to U.S. forces, bringing the total to 9, which will and can perhaps directly contain Chinese military expansion around the Philippines. This year's war drills also include a 10-day island defense mission involving the Batanes Island chain, the Philippines' northernmost region, which borders Taiwan. U.S. Marine forces are also deploying anti-ship mobile missile launchers right into the Luzon Strait, marking the first time that they have put this kind of firepower in such close proximity to Chinese forces. The strait is a narrow stretch of sea that separates the Philippines from Taiwan. The two countries will also carry out coastal defense exercises on Palawan, the Philippine island that faces the South China Sea. In Balabac, a small islet now hosting a U.S.-backed base, the two countries will conduct a 5-day security operations. Well, Balabac is located closely to the Second Thomas Shoal and Sabina Shoal, sites where China and the Philippines have clashed repeatedly in the past. Palawan will also see its beaches transformed into mock battlefields. U.S. and Filipino troops will simulate repelling enemy landings in a live-fire drill, the kind of scenario that would play out if China ever attempted to seize Philippines by force. The Chief of Staff of the Philippine Armed Forces said that these exercises between U.S. and the Philippines will encompass multiple warfare capabilities, while a U.S. Marine Corps commander highlighted the cutting-edge systems being tested in the drills.
And BK-25 is set to introduce new capabilities that have been developed over the course of many, many years and spoken of already, frankly, here in the media. Things like the Navy and Marine Expeditionary Ship Interdiction System. Things like the Marine Air Defense Integrated System, MADIS, and the Army's medium-range capability, the Typhoon missile.
The spokesperson for China's foreign ministry accused the Philippines of undermining regional stability by aligning with foreign militaries and bringing in advanced weapons. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance touched down in New Delhi earlier today for a high-stakes diplomatic visit. Amidst the sweltering Indian summer, Vance, accompanied by his wife Usha Vance and their 3 children dressed in traditional Indian attire, arrived at the Palam Air Force Station to a full ceremonial welcome, complete with a guard of honor and traditional folk dancers. The U.S. Vice President's visit comes at a tense moment in global trade. The Trump administration has put the world on edge by imposing steep reciprocal tariffs on multiple countries, including India. U.S. President Donald Trump has accused New Delhi of abusing tariff structures and announced a 27% tariff on Indian goods. That hike is currently on a 90-day pause and expires on July 9th. J.D. Vance and family received a red carpet welcome at Prime Minister Modi's official residence. The Indian Prime Minister was also seen giving a personal tour of his residence to the Vance family. Prime Minister Modi was seen sharing lighter moments with the US Vice President's two sons, Evan, Vivek, and daughter Mirabai. At the top of the agenda, reportedly, are bilateral trade deals. The White House has described the US Vice President's visit as focused on shared economic and geopolitical priorities. New Delhi says that Vance's visit can perhaps provide an opportunity for both the sides to review the progress in bilateral ties. Beyond diplomacy, the Vance family is also immersing itself in Indian culture. Usha Vance, the US Second Lady, traces her lineage to Andhra Pradesh. Earlier today, the Vances visited New Delhi's Akshardham Temple and also the Cotton Emporium. And tomorrow, the Vance family head to Jaipur, where they will visit the Amer Fort. J.D. Vance is scheduled to deliver a speech at the Rajasthan International Centre outlining the future of US-India ties under the Trump administration. And on Wednesday, the family heads to Agra to view the Taj Mahal and explore Shilpagram, which is an open-air market featuring Indian art and craft. And well, on Thursday, they fly back to the US. Prime Minister Modi was among the first foreign leaders to meet Trump after his inauguration. Since then, the two sides have aimed to double bilateral trade to $500 billion. Prime Minister Modi has signed off on deals to increase Indian imports of US oil and even gas. Since the start of this year, high-level US delegations have visited India. To name some, Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, made a visit. And so did Brendan Lynch, who is the Assistant Trade Representative for South and Central Asia. Well, US Vice President J.D. Vance's trip is just the latest such visit and perhaps the most symbolic, given that Trump is expected to visit India later this year for the Quad Summit alongside leaders from Japan and Australia. But for now, all eyes are on New Delhi. Can India's warm welcome thaw America's hard stance on tariffs? And will it lead to a new chapter in Indo-American ties?